right. Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Fox and Pheasant members, and welcome to August. It's been hot.
Yes.
It's also been officially 1 year since we first sent whiskey. So congratulations.
Congratulations.
We made it.
Sure, we made it. 1 year.
Yeah.
1 year of business.
Hey, well, here's the cool thing. We were talking about it a little bit in the last pour. I think this first kickoff of 2000, well, I guess it's not really a year, but year two.
Year two.
Is starting off with some pretty cool stuff. We've got, some connections now with the distillery here locally, and we're starting to think about where's this going to head in the next year, and take some steps to make some ground up. And now we know that we can buy whiskey and send some stuff out. Mm-hmm. Cool. What's next? We've got some cool partnerships, potential music, and other things just dipping our fingers in, it feels like there's a lot that could happen. So
absolutely,
we're really excited, but that's not why you're here. You are here to learn a little bit about your pour. And God, I had such mixed emotions on this guy a little bit. Angel's Envy, I'm sure one of you members out there actually requested Angel's Envy. Just asked a question about it. Like, what's the story with Angel's Envy? Yeah. And I didn't really know the story. I know they're not a terribly old brand. I learned they're a father and son brand. But then I also said, if I want to go this route of a secondary finish, let's get it in its purest form. And we found Angel's Envy Private Barrel Select Barreled Strength. It's not a super strong bourbon the way they cut it, so it's not like anything overpowering, but it's still at 105 proof or something along those lines.
105.7.
For a port barrel finished bourbon. So a little bit of story about Angel's Envy. You've probably seen this bottle before. It's got its nice little angel wings. Angel's Envy, obviously related to the bourbon story of the things that evaporate off the barrel. It's called the Angel Share. So this became the stuff they couldn't get. So it is the envy of the angels that you get it, right? So there's your story and wordplay on Angel's Envy.
Well, this one comes iced. I mean, it's got a necklace and the whole bit. So
yeah,
so that is a hefty necklace.
It's a nice hefty set of angel wings that come with it. Tells you that it is a private barrel select from Angel's Envy. This guy is bottle number 134 out of the collection, which means they probably had 170 to 185 or so bottles that they were able to pull out of this case, or this barrel. Barrel 3065. But okay, so Angel's Envy, father-son, like I said. Son wanted to start distilling whiskey. The father was a 40-year master distiller in Kentucky, was actually a master distiller for Woodford Reserve for a while. They paired up, started making their whiskey in 2011, August of 2011. So they're literally on their 12th year anniversary themselves, or 11th year anniversary. So here's what they did differently, and oh my God, was it blasphemy in the day. They made Kentucky whiskey, Kentucky bourbon, and aged it in a different type of barrel after it's done. So a secondary barreling of a different spirit. And many whiskeys around the world do that. Scotches do it all the time. Irish whiskeys do it. Japanese whiskeys do it. American whiskeys now do it a lot now too, but it was not common a decade ago. And it was blasphemous for them to be pouring Kentucky bourbon into a port barrel, and changing kind of the profile of the whiskey. They only secondary barrel. Now they might have some private stuff at the distillery that I'm not aware of, but on their major labels, their bourbon is done in a port barrel, secondary, until it's ready. Non-age specific is when they taste it and say it's ready. Their rye done in a plantation rum barrel, and it's done with a rum barrel, and also until it's finished. Both of those things adding a lot of complexity and softening some of the notes quite a bit. So this guy has an incredible list of descriptors.
Yeah.
That when you start throwing it together, like I told you what I tasted, what I put in a tasting card, you went down the list of things that they say. There's lots of red fruit, lots of compote, lots of pie, lots of things that just kind of add a lot of like that port, finish to the whiskey. This is not a common bottle, guys. You might be able to find it. I will tell you that these bottles are private barrel selects from a Total Wine, so you can potentially find it at a Total Wine. But when they're out, they're gone. There's not going to be. This isn't something they restock. You can expect to pay between $100 and $120 for a bottle like this. But I think if you were to leave it sealed and hold on to it for a while, it's the kind of bottle that, for the people who really like Angel's Envy. It's not a purist whiskey, so it's not going to become a $200-300 bottle, but it'll definitely hold its value for a long period of time. Again, I don't like talking that way because we drink whiskey.
Yeah.
But I say that, but I'm surrounded by a lot of things that I'd be real hesitant to open up right now.
Well, Angel's Envy is just a brand I think you see just about everywhere now. I mean, most bars have Angel's Envy. I mean, you can pick it up pretty inexpensive at Costco or different places.
Which is awesome because, again, it started as a father-son business. You pointed it out. You were reading a little bit of theirs before we got started. The brand was bought by Bacardi, so that really helps them with distribution and helps them with scaling. So helps them get through contracts into those, especially national chain bars, etc. Because Bacardi and Coca-Cola and like all those companies make the menu, right?
Right.
So that's why you see Angel's Envy. But this ain't the Angel's Envy that you're going to get.
No. This is pretty exclusive.
Yeah, it's just
pretty exclusive.
It's pretty cool stuff. So,
and I have not tried it yet.
Yep.
This is my first pour.
Again, we're getting to that point where we have to be cautious of what's pretty unique and rare, but what can we get enough of at that purchase time to share with our group. Because now you're getting to that point where you need to get a couple to a few. So this guy's going to have dark plum to / cherry, berry compote, toasted sugar, baking spices.
Well, there's a sweetness right off the nose.
You're going to get a lot from that port barrel on a red fruit.
Yeah, it's got like a plum.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. And plum was the very first thing, a dark plum, and a toasted sugar. Because it's got we say brown sugar occasionally, and sometimes you say burnt sugar. This guy is marshmallowy a little bit, but man, there's a lot going on. Goes into a candied sugar, like on the actual taste, butterscotch and dry oak. I get more oak out of this than I did when I first poured it. Man, almost like a little bit like I had smoked the glass yesterday. Like it's just got a little bit of extra oomph to it on the smell. Finishes dry oak, some baking spice again, and hazelnut. A little bit of that bitter nut flavor, so I'm gonna go for it. Definitely getting the dry oak right off the bat, especially coming off. We had that California Redwood Empire just a second ago. Feels like it spent more time in a wooden barrel.
Yeah.
You can taste that. I do like the softness and the acidity that kind of comes from those red fruits that we're tasting. Whether it be plum or cherry, or whether you talk about a berry compote, that kind of sweetness. Lots of a little bit of like acidic sweetness that's in it. I feel like I should be reading Sherlock Holmes with a smoking jacket on. It's kind of got that finish where this isn't I'm watching a Western.
No.
Bourbon whiskey, hard rye kind of thing. No.
I'm sitting by a fire with my smoking jacket on.
Yeah.
And I'm reading the
So you know, a long time ago we talked about this, and I kind of alluded to a little bit of a tie-in that we're looking to do from a music standpoint. But music was always a part of this for us as we've explored whiskey and bonded over whiskey and created this club. Listening to music was a big part of it. I mean, it's ironic we didn't plan it, but we're literally wearing like swag from bands that we like discovered through our love of whiskey, right? And now it's become like a very big part of when we're drinking and tasting and exploring and brainstorming. We typically have music that we've, you know, curated to go along with it. Yeah. And, you know, by the way, send us a message. If you have a Spotify account, we have a Spotify playlist for our club. I'll send you the link to it. So, but I go that route to come back to this to go like this. I'm listening to Dostoevsky.
Yeah, this doesn't quite fit in our wheelhouse of bourbon for drinking the kind of music that we listen to yet.
Oh, but I
switch it up.
Oh, you know what I'd like on this? Some Coltrane. You know what I mean?
A little jazzy.
Yeah, it feels a little more cultured. I don't mean to sound like I'm a slave to the branding of something.
Sure.
But that's how it tastes. It's almost like a deep root. It's a ruby port, right? So ruby port barrels, and I get that note and that taste, and it's something I drink differently. I don't want ice with this, personally. I want to be able to sip it like this, and it's.
I wouldn't mind an ice cube, just because I'd want to get the different flavors.
Yeah.
But we'd probably drink it neat most.
I think it would get cocktaily pretty quickly.
I think it would actually.
Manhattan-y.
Yeah.
You know that way. If you drank this, because it's almost like it's got the cherry and the Luxardo in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
a lot of flavors.
You might be right. It might be amazing on ice.
Could be.
Well, we've only got a little bit left, so we'll find out for you.
Yeah.
And get back to you, but
a good call on the Coltrane. I think that about sums it up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, that was a good call.
So guys, check it out. This is very different from some of the other stuff we've sent. I know people were interested in Angel's Envy. It's kind of what makes it different on secondary barreling. Lots of people doing stuff like that now. One of our other clubs that we kind of get stuff through just did a Westward finished in stout casks.
Yep.
You know, so kind of really rounds that out, brings the chocolate note up a ton. There's a bitterness to that. I got to sample it when I went through and saw him last time. So wasn't wild about that one, but I think it was probably more on the front end, not the barreling. We've got another California one that's doing stuff in Zinfandel and Cabernet barrels that I think is fantastic. Really unique profile to those two whiskeys. There's that Sonoma one with the white label on top that's doing it in Cabernet barrels. They got stuff in Pinot barrels.
Well, IW Harper just did the
Cabernet casks right up there. Yeah.
So I mean, everybody's kind of moving in that direction, I think, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
With some kind of an offshoot like that. I mean,
tons of stuff done in sherry.
Bourbon fusion and just like fusing together different blends, and then also I think just using different barrels has just become kind of experimental and much more accepted in the bourbon world than it was, you know, a decade or more ago.
Well, obviously, I mean, they barely made it because of what they were doing, but now they definitely hit their stride.
Yeah, it's the new seltzer market.
Lots of beer. You're just throwing things out there now. But they're doing things in beer barrels too. Like so, somebody buys a bourbon barrel, does a beer in it, and now a bourbon company buys the barrel back to age it in the thing they age the beer in.
Which used to be the opposite.
Yeah,
you know, it was the beer company or the beer brewers.
So really cool stuff. I very, very, very different from anything else that we poured. The closest thing that I can say that we poured for you guys was the McFarland Ranch 12.
Yes.
Wheated bourbon finished in Cabernet barrels.
Yep.
Port brings a whole nother element to it though. Instead of being like cherry and strawberry notes, it's plum and the oak comes a lot more through this than that bright cherry on the wheated bourbon. So hope you enjoy it. Please comment and let us know what you think. We are excited to kick off year 2. We appreciate all of your support to get us to here. If you've been a member since day 1, you're winding down. We hope that you rejoin us for year 2, because like I said, I think there's going to be some really cool and magical things happening that kind of takes us to a new level in the next year. At the same time, please give us feedback on what else you'd like us to do. See, what would you like more of, less of? Are these too long, not long enough? Would you like more instruction, more interaction? We're trying to figure out how we game plan year 2 to balance with the opportunities that we think we're going to be able to have from going to Kentucky, meeting new distillers, partnering with some music, doing some really cool things. So we appreciate you guys so much, and we hope you enjoy your pour. Happy August into September, and here's to cooler weather coming.
Cheers.